Hi everybody, I'm Skip Alsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we have pre-recorded this episode because we are traveling. We are doing some series of screenings at different places in Athens, Ohio, at Ohio University, and then slowly making our way to Indiana for the Century of 16 Millimeter Conference, which is at Bloomington, Indiana, at Indiana University. And we'll be doing a screening there and also a presentation about the AV Geeks archive. And I will try, as we get closer to that event, I'll try to do snippets and maybe introduce you to some of my peers, other archivists, etc. But in the meantime, I got a bunch of films over the last couple of weeks from different sources, and I want to show them off. And so traditionally I start off with short films that get longer, but this time I think I'm going to show like the main film and then try to pick films that I think might fit thematically with them. So on the scanner behind me, I have a religious film. It is called Happy Money. Let's try to figure out what it is. Enjoy.
Well, it's coming along all right, but I still think it needs something.
Well, I think it's great. Well, don't you, Jean?
Well, yes, but Linda's right. We need more color, more of a feeling of celebration.
Celebration?
Right. A real carnival atmosphere is what we want.
Carnival? Oh, come on, George.
I've got an idea. Let's put this above the church.
Okay, come on, give it to me. I'll do it.
Give it to Bob.
Here, here we go.
That's good.
Yeah, wait, get the
Here, I'll get that down there,
right
okay?
on the other side.
I like it.
Let me get it.
We have to finish putting these up.
Is it?
No.
Here, watch it. All right, get it down.
Hey, listen, Joe, could you and Jane bring the ladder over here and put something up? It looks awfully skimpy.
Sure.
How's that?
Yeah. Hey, maybe this would work.
Okay, let's put those up. Get your safety.
This is Stewardship. Looks more like New Year's Eve to me.
A couple of months ago, I would have felt the same way. But these kids have made a believer of me. Now, I think they've got something very important going here. How's that, Linda?
Oh, it's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
George, if this is Stewardship, I'll have to eat my pledge cards for the last 20 years. Stewardship is serious business.
Is it? I'm not so sure it should be.
I'm not so sure what you mean by that. This whole thing seems so out of place here. Maybe you shouldn't have let the kids run with the ball quite so much.
I'm the first to admit that the Happy Money Project is a wild idea, but I still have to defend it, Frank. I can't help it. These kids have gotten to me.
I can see that.
Like Washington Resolve.
Well, Abe, it's that time of year again.
That's right, George. Gotta go to church again.
I'm sorry, but I just don't understand it at all.
Well, I don't see what the problem is, Dad. It's really a very simple idea. Come on, Mom, have another balloon. We've got a long way to go.
Look, hon, maybe that's where we don't see eye to eye. I was brought up to think of stewardship as something very serious and important.
Well, it is important, but why does it have to be so serious?
Here's another balloon, Mr. Howard.
Oh, Daddy, I don't see why you get so shook up about all this.
How did the idea get started? Happy money, I mean.
It was all Linda's idea, the whole thing.
I might have known.
You just don't try to understand. It's a good idea. Everybody says it's one of the best projects the youth group has ever had.
Maybe we could try harder, Frank. From what I heard, it was quite remarkable.
Oh, well, I can't take all the credit. I mean, everybody pitched in and worked hard. It all started about 2 months ago at a youth council meeting when George Baldwin brought up the subject of stewardship. We had been going over some scriptures about stewardship, and I remember that George was trying to get us to do some really serious thinking about it.
Now, what I would like to see us do is come up with some ideas of ways the youth group could explore together what stewardship really means. Any volunteers?
Well,
Yeah, Scott.
well, I think it should be a project of some sort so we can learn about stewardship and practice it at the same time.
All right. We seem agreed that it should be something, an action thing. So we learn by doing. Now,
Hey, I've got an idea. Isn't there a verse in the Bible that says something about the Lord loves a cheerful giver?
yes.
Well, I think we should do something to put joy back into stewardship. Our theme could be, the Lord loves happy money.
Right. It's a fantastic idea. The Happy Money Project.
Well, that's how it all began. And the kids have been working like crazy on it ever since. Daddy, here's another balloon. Be careful not to smudge it.
I wish somebody would tell me what all these balloons have to do with stewardship.
Well, we thought they'd lend a festive note to our play. All the kids are helping decorate them. We need several hundred.
Several hundred.
Look, I don't mean to sound like an old fogey, but do you really think you're doing justice to this whole concept of stewardship?
Some of the kids in our group asked that same question. It took some real salesmanship to convince them. I'll never forget the speech Linda made at our youth group meeting.
So we of the council think of it as a demonstration project to show how right attitudes about stewardship can help us all do more for the work of Christ. We'll be studying about stewardship of our lives, our talents, our time, and we'll be doing something about it at the same time. And the whole thing will climax when we make our stewardship pledge for next year. Any questions?
Well, some of us were wondering where we're going to get the extra money to do it.
There are plenty of ways. What about our allowances and our jobs like babysitting?
And a lot of us have steady jobs after school and on Saturdays.
Just a minute. I think we're forgetting the spirit of the whole thing. It seems to me the important thing is having the right attitude about money. The whole idea is to get away from treating giving to God as, well, a business deal. If we can get our attitudes right, get joy back into giving, then we can find all kinds of ways to express that joy.
How many of these things did you say?
A couple of hundred at least.
A couple of hundred. Honey, I wish I could make you see my point. Now, it isn't that the happy money theme isn't cute and all.
Well, then what is it, Dad?
Frank, actually, you're not making your objections too clear.
I know, but I have had a little competition from balloons and crepe paper. And Abe Lincoln and George Washington complaining about having to go to church.
Abe Lincoln and Washington?
Oh, they just are talking money. Look, Dad, you're making this sound as if we're doing something subversive. We're just trying to remind people that giving should be joyful, a fun thing, just like it says in the Bible.
Let's hold it. Now, let's talk about that for a second. I've been reading the Bible for a good many years, and I don't recall any place where it says stewardship is a fun thing.
Well, maybe it's all in the way you read it.
Well, I think, the important thing is the project did get us all to thinking about stewardship. And in a new way. Well, so much so we found all kinds of ways to turn what we call sad money into happy money. Remember that time when Paul had just started his new after-school job and we were sort of celebrating his first big paycheck? You might as well have these.
Thanks.
They're not on my diet.
Oh. I still can't see why you passed up dinner and the movies for hamburgers.
I told you, I'm trying to help you save your money for something more important.
Well, listen, if you're talking about that stewardship business, well, don't worry, I'll do my part. But I don't think it's fair to ask me to starve to death.
Why, that's the last thing in the world I'd want to happen to you, Paul. When I get home, I promise I'll ask Mom if I can fix you a snack.
No, thanks. I'm supposed to be treating you, remember?
Well, you are, and I'm enjoying it. Especially when I realize that because of the big sacrifice you're making tonight, you'll be able to give more to the church.
I don't know. But I feel that somehow I've been had.
Have a pickle.
Thanks.
And how about what some of us did about birthday presents and things like that? Remember, Mom? Remember how I kept bugging you about my birthday present and you couldn't figure out why?
Linda, it isn't like you at all. You know we like to surprise you at least once in a while.
Couldn't you just give me a hint? I mean, I don't want to know exactly what you're planning, but couldn't you give me some idea of the price?
Linda.
Oh, please, Mom, it's really important to me.
Important to know the price? Now, isn't that being just a little mercenary?
Okay, I guess I'll have to explain. Look, I have an awful lot of things, and, well, I was just thinking that if you were planning to spend a lot of money on me, maybe you'd buy me something cheaper and give me the extra money in cash. For happy money. And then I remember Scott telling us about the time he and Joe Harris were in that store where they bought gadgets for their car.
Man, we've been saving for weeks for a set of custom wheels, and we finally made it, right?
Half that money's mine, right?
Well, sure, but you're not going to change your mind.
Well, I was just thinking. It seems kind of sad to spend that much for wheels when wheel covers would look just the same.
Sad? Oh, no. You don't mean...
I mean, let's make it happy money. Why not? Wheel covers might even be better.
You make your half happy. But my two wheels are going to be, well, sad but beautiful. You know, sometimes I think you guys have blown your minds.
A lot of the kids did things like that. And it worked, too.
You know what I think made it so successful? The happiness part. Really. Oh, wow, I've got to go. It's almost supper time. Can I help you put these things away?
Oh, no, thanks. I can manage fine.
Sure? All right.
We're awfully glad you could come over, dear.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye, Linda. Bye, Mr. Howard. Thanks for helping us.
Not at all.
What in the world are you doing, playing with those balloons?
Why not? I think that's what you and your friends are doing, just playing with this stewardship project.
That's not true. Well, you may think we're just making a joke out of this, but I want you to know we're very serious about it. We think that we've recovered something that most adults have lost.
I think I understand that, hon. It's just that I don't think that happy money is a very comprehensive view of stewardship.
All right. You're a Christian. You tell me, what is stewardship?
Very well. First of all, it means that we are stewards. It means that we are managers of our possessions rather than owners. It means that everything we have belongs to God, including ourselves. And we simply use our money, time, and talents, knowing they belong to Him. Stewardship means that we are responsible to God.
Responsible. Now, does that make you sad?
Sad? No, of course not.
Well, I think it's something we should be happy about. The fact that God owns everything, that the whole world is in his hands, that he gives us life. Well, I think it's something we should be grateful about and celebrate. Oh, I don't know. So many people seem to think it's terrible that God owns everything instead of them.
Look, I don't think we're going to settle anything this way, so why don't we declare a truce?
Okay. Until tomorrow night. Maybe our play will explain it better than I can.
Well, let's go over it once more, just to be sure I've got it.
Well, don't be nervous, Scott. We've been over it 10 times. You just present the kids who are going to tell some of their experiences, and then I'll present the players.
You're nervous too, aren't you?
Oh, it isn't that.
Well, look, if you're worried about the others, don't. They've worked hard for tonight. They'll be great.
It's not that either.
Well, what is it then? You've been acting weird all evening.
Well, it's just that... Look, I don't want to bother you all with my problems. You've all got a lot to think about.
Well, look, a lot depends on you tonight. Maybe you better talk about it. Well, here's George. Maybe he can help.
Hi. Had some trouble getting it, but here it is. Abe Lincoln's protest symbol.
I'll take it. Paul's not here yet. Why don't you tell George?
What was that about?
Well, I told Scott I was worried about something, and he thought I ought to talk to you about it. It's all right now. I guess I'm just worried about the play and things.
I know how your father feels. And all I can tell you is go ahead with it. Prove to all of them how much the Happy Money Project really means. Look, you convinced me. And I know you can convince him. And a lot of others, too.
Thank you. And say a prayer for us. We need it.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, we've tried to tell you a little bit about how the Happy Money Project got started and some of the things that have happened. Now, Linda Howard will present the second half of the program. Linda?
Thank you, Scott. The hardest thing to answer about the Happy Money Project is why we did it and what it really means. What you are about to see now is about attitudes towards stewardship. It's not intended as criticism. All the names have been changed to protect the guilty, but as a presentation of something that we think is very important. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Happy Money Players.
Lord loves cheerful givers. Lord loves cheerful givers.
Stop all this racket. What's going on here?
We're celebrating.
You can't celebrate here. Well, this is the church.
Oh, we're celebrating about stewardship.
Ah, humbug! Take down all these streamers and stop all this racket. This is no way to act, especially about stewardship.
Why not?
I'll tell you why not. Because stewardship is serious business. That's why not.
What?
I said it's serious business.
It's not business. Definitely not. Well, sure, it's serious, but there's no reason why you can't be happy about it.
You're just too young to understand, son. Someday after you get a little older, well...
Getting older is no solution. I mean, sometimes I think it's a big problem. Like, take that couple coming here, for instance.
Well, dear, today we make our annual pledge. So let's go and get it over with.
How do I look? Is my dress black enough for the occasion?
Yes, I think so. Have you got our pledge card ready?
Oh.
Oh, buck up, dear. It's all right. Be brave. I'll stay right next to you. We'll make it somehow.
I know, but it's so sad. It was such nice money. And now it's gone. Gone. Gone.
Well, think of it this way. Someday we'll see it again. We're just laying up treasure in heaven.
Oh, I'll try. But it's hard, John. Hard.
Well, honey, let's go.
Well, I'll admit that it seems that way sometimes, but you're exaggerating. What do you expect people to do? Sing and jump for joy when they give?
Yes. Stewardship is gratitude. It's a joyful response to God. It's praise and thanksgiving.
Well, the trouble with you young whippersnappers is that you don't understand money. The responsibility of a family, taxes, education expenses, the high cost of living.
Are you a 10%er?
You mean a tither? A proportionate giver? I am. I most certainly am.
10% of the whole?
Well, maybe not the total.
After taxes?
Well,
After the family expenses?
well,
After the high cost of living?
well, you know, one has to sharpen his pencil when he's figuring. After all, one has to come to a business-like agreement with the Lord.
Do you know what you've been doing?
No, what?
You've been giving the Lord unhappy money.
I have?
Yes. Unhappy money.
Well, Abe, it's that time of year again.
Yep, we got to go to church again. How's your owner getting along anyway?
Terrible. She got tear stains all over me. I feel awful.
Well, at least it's for a good cause. I almost got spent the other day for a box full of golf balls.
How awful.
Talk about putting your money in a hole in the ground. That's it. At least we get to do some good this way. Makes me feel a little better.
But I wonder why they don't understand.
Understand what, George?
Well, that money can be sad or happy according to the way it's used.
I guess they just don't read their Bibles right.
They just deal us out to the church as if they're paying a debt.
More like slaves working for a hard master than free men giving gratefully to God.
Yes, it seems kind of sad. But we shouldn't fret. After all, we've made it. We are going to accomplish something. Cheer up, Abe. It could be worse.
Well, I guess that's right. But I just wish they could see it, though. Given to God and the work of his church in this world, it should be an act of celebration.
I guess they just forget sometimes. Well, so long, Abe.
Goodbye, George. See you in church.
Well, what do you say now, old friend?
Well, I'll admit you've got a point there. The Lord loves a cheerful giver. The Lord loves happy money. Oversimplified, perhaps, but still a good point.
It sure would change the look of our stewardship if we all went along with that, wouldn't it?
Come on.
Hey, what are you doing? What is this?
We're going to church, old friend. We're going to celebrate the gift of salvation, the thrill of new life in Christ.
Well, okay. Let's celebrate.
Isaiah chapter 61. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall exult in my God, for he has clothed me with the garments of salvation. He has covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decks himself with a garland, as a bride adorns herself with her jewels. And as Paul said, rejoice in the Lord always. And again I say, rejoice. I want to explain first of all that the Happy Money Project started out as a demonstration We wanted to see what we could accomplish if our attitude was one of joy rather than slavish duty. And we have accomplished something. We have far exceeded our goal for weekly giving. The kids wanted me to say that this is not the end of the Happy Money Project. In spite of all the fun and stuff, what some of you have called the carnival atmosphere, we feel that we have just begun to take stewardship seriously. The youth group is going to continue to study and explore the full meaning of it, because we all know we have a great deal to learn. We have begun to see that stewardship is not just something that has to do with offerings and pledges and tithing. It is a continuing responsibility. It's an attitude of life. It's gratitude for what God has done for us in Christ. It's the whole pattern of our living, the whole style of it, our relationship to things and people and ourselves. It's all stewardship. What we have tried to say tonight is that joy and thanksgiving should be part of that pattern too. And we think a very important part of living life as Christian stewards. Good night, and may the joy of the Lord go with you.
Terrific show, honey. I really enjoyed it. I think you've given us all something to think about. Right, George?
Right. I think stewardship is going to have a new meaning in the lives of our young people. From now on, I think we'll all take a more serious look at it.
Hey, Abe, are you sure we're in the right place? These people look downright happy.
Sure in the right place. I think they got the message.
Him because I was listening to it, but in the credits it's Jerry Mathers, the Beaver. Maybe in the comments you guys noticed it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again. Wow, Jerry Mathers. Definitely as a teenager, 1969. Maybe even a young adult. This is before he died in Vietnam. That's an urban legend, of course. That was discounted when him and Tony Dow appeared on Saturday Night Live and discounted it. Wow. Yeah. And man, that dad was such a stick in the mud. Holy cow. So stewardship, of course, is Protestant stuff. This would always come up, especially during Lent, where it's like, oh, you can... Kids, here's the Lenten folder, and you put quarters in for every Sunday. I can't remember I think it was every Sunday you put in. But yeah, and so this hits home because my stepfather was a Methodist minister, and his livelihood was based on stewardship. People paying offering to the church so that he could get paid, and so he could pay his bills, and so the bills of the church could be paid. And he was in some rural North Carolina churches, and what he made was not great. But he survived, and his family survived. But let's see. I'm going to try to... who enforces the offerings? The church usher. Here's a film on how to be a church usher. Enjoy.
Whenever people gather in churches, there is a need for dignity and quiet that is conducive to worship. But occasionally, things happen. Something goes wrong. When this happens, it calls for prompt action from one trained to meet such situations. The church usher. The minister, as prophet, spiritual leader, and preacher, has the most important role in the worship life of the church. He must direct the several activities of the service and create an atmosphere which will help the people achieve a spirit of worship. In most churches, the minister is assisted by ushers. As doorkeepers in the house of the Lord and assistants to the minister, they have an important function to perform too. But without careful planning and preparation, the ushers can fail to be an asset to the minister and the service of worship he is directing. They can even create more disturbance than order. They may even become a disturbing element in the service. Such a simple thing as the way ushers are dressed can create an atmosphere of harmony and order. But if each one is clothed differently, the impression is one of confusion and disharmony. Well, let's go back to the beginning and see how this should be done. Often the usher provides that all-important first impression to the arriving people. His appearance is important. What the ushers wear may be a matter of decision made by the ushers and the minister. In some informal congregations, it may be proper for ushers to be coatless in the summer. In others, the proper mode of dress may be similar colored suits or even formal coats and ties. So long as the apparel fits in with the manner of dress of the congregation and the dress of all the ushers is similar, good taste can be the criterion. Uniformity of dress can also be a means of identification. Another means of identification is the small lapel flower. One of the ushers should be selected as the head usher. He may be selected by the minister, the worship committee, official board, or board of deacons. He holds a position of trust and importance and should be a person of mature judgment with talent for leadership. It is his job to see that there are enough ushers on hand at every service, to assign the ushers their individual stations, to work out the procedures for directing special services, and to instruct the other ushers in their duties. An important part of the usher's duties is seating the persons as they arrive. As persons come, the usher should find out how many are in the party that are to be seated together. He will ask them to follow him down the aisle to a place he has selected. The usher will stop by the pew in front of the one the people are to enter and turn to face them. As the people enter the pew, and not before, the usher should give them a bulletin. He should wait until they are comfortably seated before returning to the narthex for the next group. If the people indicate that they would prefer a seat other than the one the usher has selected, the usher should allow them to sit wherever they like. Always there are those who arrive after the service begins. To avoid disturbing the service, the ushers should suggest that these wait in the narthex for a few moments. The usher may be guided by instructions in the church bulletin indicating when late arrivals may be seated. If possible, seats should be saved at the rear of the church so that latecomers can be seated without disturbing the congregation or embarrassing the late arrivers. It is helpful if the usher can give them a hymnal open to the proper place so that they can join in the service immediately. As the service continues, those ushers stationed near the rear should remain at their stations. They should look after the physical comfort and well-being of the congregation as inconspicuously as possible. If a person becomes ill during the service, the quick and quiet action of an usher is needed to avoid disturbing the congregation or embarrassing the sick person. An usher should stay with the sick person until it can be determined what should be done. In some cases, it may be necessary to telephone for a doctor or an ambulance. In some churches, an agreement is reached with a physician in the congregation that he may be called out of the sanctuary if needed. The actions of the ushers can emphasize that the offering is a solemn act of worship. The ushers should not do anything that will call attention to themselves. The keynote here is dignity and poise. Normally, each usher will receive one plate and will proceed to an assigned aisle and begin passing the plate along the row of worshipers. His partner at the other end of the pew will pass his plate down the next row. Each usher will remain at the end of the pew where his plate is being passed until it reaches the opposite end. He will then move to the next row to receive the plate that has arrived there. He will then skip one row and start passing the plate he has received down the next pew. If the pew is not filled with people so that the plate can be passed easily along the pew, the usher may simply offer the plate to those near the end of his aisle and go on to the next pew. Where Holy Communion is received at the front altar, the head usher must work out some plan for moving the people easily to the front and then back to the seats. He will need to know how many persons the altar can accommodate at a time. He will want to designate certain aisles for persons to come forward and others for their return to their seats. He will want to assign ushers at strategic points to direct persons in these paths. Other ushers will stand at the ends of the pews. They will indicate to the persons in the pews when they are to come forward. When as many persons as can be accommodated have been invited, the usher will stand at the end of the empty pew to indicate to the others that they are to wait. In churches where communion is received in the pews, the church elders or deacons may serve communion, or the ushers may be designated to do it. It will be handled similarly to passing plates for the offering. As the service ends, the ushers assist the pastor in representing the welcome spirit of the church. They are particularly attentive to visitors, giving them a cordial invitation to come again, or perhaps asking them to fill out a visitor's card for the pastor's information. They are alert for those who need special help. All in all, it is a wonderful opportunity to be a vital part of the worship of the church community, a doorkeeper in the house of the Lord, the church usher.
Episcopalian. I think I was an usher once or twice, which is a big deal because you have to help with communion, because we have communion. Our church had communion every Sunday, the Eucharist, and so you had to carry the body and blood of Christ. So a big deal. And I remember everybody was super excited to see this pimply-faced teenager, doing this, and then some old lady's like, "Your posture is very poor. You are such a fine young boy." And my posture is still poor, so there you go. Alright, I got another film set up here, again, about stewardship. I know this runs off of, we don't normally go down this weird religious path, but it is something that if you grew up Protestant, or if you are still Protestant, that you would hear about this in sermons, you would see it in bulletins, they would talk about it, because, this is how a church sustains itself. And so this film is this is something that would be shown by someone who was doing mission work, I think, and they would basically try to raise money not only for the local church but also for bigger efforts, and specifically mission churches in other parts of the country or other parts of the world. And this film, I believe, is called Decision at Friendship. According to my notes, it is about stewardship, but who knows? Enjoy.
This is a quiet corner of the planet Earth, a place in the west of America, near, yet not near, the town of Lamesa, a place so remote it doesn't even have a name. An old drowsy sun heaves itself up and begins its morning rounds, splashing diamonds down upon the temporal things of man, a drop of magic dye to set the east on fire. Though still and strangely beautiful, this is not a gentle place. When the sun slides higher, there is revealed a land as dry and barren as a skeleton's dream. Harsh, empty, vast. A land where mere survival is a victory. This is a story of the land, a handful of people, a church they built, and a remarkable decision they made there. "22 miles from the grocery store, 4 miles from his nearest neighbor, a mile and a half from his mailbox, lives Norman Travis O'Brien. Brother NT, as his friends call him, worked these same fields nearly 50 years ago with teams of mules.
We weren't equipped to wrestle with a country like this one really was. We had never experienced the storms like we have here in the dry seasons. Just a 30 minutes or an hour storm would wipe out most of a year's work. And it looked like it was about all lost. Every effort we'd make looked like is a losing game. But they was bright times as well as the rough ones. The people appreciated one another and worked together and appreciated the hardships that others were experiencing. all in all, we didn't count it so hard. We thought we was doing fairly well to exist. And as I look back now, I'm more of that opinion than I ever was. I'd hate to have to do that again. But families hung together, worked together. To be honest about it, the Lord just provided a way. Since time memorial, there have been harvests, seed time and harvest. For that reason, it has sustained people even in this treacherous part of the country.
In the fields of Norman Travis O'Brien, there is seed time and there is harvest time. The winds blow and the seasons ever turn. Raymond Carr, cotton farmer. A man whose survival in this country depends on a delicate balance of probabilities. It will probably rain during the next few weeks. If it does not, there will be no harvest. There will probably be a late frost. If there is not, there will be no harvest. The prosperity of this entire area is dependent on cotton, and this is not a good year. Late spring rains delayed plowing, and the summer rains have not come. Much of the field will probably burn up. Raymond Carr cultivates on faith.
Well, I was born in this community and have lived here always, except when I was off to the Army a couple of years. Same home. I lived where my parents lived. When I was a kid, I didn't know I was going to be a farmer. I said I never would be, but after I accepted that and started, I've never had any other desire. It's a good life, good, clean life. I like to work. I like to go out and plow a good wet field, smell it when you plow it open. You can see God make things grow and send rain and summer and whatnot. And it's a good life for your family and whatnot.
There was a time when many families made their home in these sun-scorched dryland cotton fields, but only the strong remain. There is a saying here that all those with good judgment have long since pulled up stakes and left for more gentle pastures. Homer Etheridge is one of the strong.
Used to be, they tell me, where there was a house on every quarter section, but I doubt there's one to every 10 sections now. I moved in December of 1953. Along about that time, it's pretty rough. It's following a severe drought. This was almost the middle of the Sahara, as far as I was concerned. Oh, I've tried other things for a short period of time. To me, the life, the family life that you can have on the farm is worth the difference.
And so, this is the land and the people. A land tormented by the wind and sun, rarely refreshed by rain. A people who wrestle with the stubborn earth merely to endure. But there is a quiet miracle going on in these thirsty fields. For what these people do here is felt in the farthest corners of the earth, in Africa, Thailand, the Middle East, South America. Human lives are made more rewarding by the labors and faith of this handful of dry land cotton farmers. This is Friendship Baptist Church. In a few moments, a remarkable decision will be made here. In 1955, the congregation decided to increase their giving to the cooperative program 2.5% each year. And each year, through good years and bad, they have met their commitment. The church now gives 40% of its budget, about $10,000, to the cooperative program. It's not difficult to see how some of that money might have been used closer to home. Yet, in spite of these obvious needs and the prospects of crop failure, the Budget Committee has recommended another increase. Today, this little church that needs so much will vote on giving to an extent undreamed of by churches with far much more to give.
We are thankful for the fine work of our Budget Committee in preparing and presenting this budget for our consideration and approval. I believe this to be a challenge to our church. We find in Matthew 28, verses 18 through 20, these words, "And Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost."
Being of the faith I am, a Baptist, we've always been missionary-minded. And we didn't have much else we could do. We wasn't strong enough to sponsor any missions or other projects so much.
I believe that it's the best plan that has been tried so far, and that it's a way of pleasing God and carrying on His work. All the people combined together and all the churches working together into one pool can reach more of the world.
There have been some hard crop years through these years, and we had to do a lot of this giving and setting our goals and raising it 2.5% strictly by faith, because we couldn't see it with our eyeballs out here on the rainfall that we had at that particular time.
We'll be very lucky if we harvest anything this year.
We've had several real short crop years into there, and it's been proven to us to experience that you can't outgive God.
As a church, I don't believe that we think we've given sacrificially. We might could have had some things here at our church that we don't have. We would have kept some of that money here, but I know it's been a blessing to our church to send it on out.
There's been times when it looked like it was a foolish move, but every time there'd be a way for us to meet that pledge.
I think our church has grown tremendously spiritually through the fact that we've seen our faith demonstrated and the Lord's promises fulfilled in it.
I really believe if we'll concentrate on our budget, there'll be a way to do it. And we're not to the end of the road yet. We pledged we'd go to 50%. If the Lord is willing. And I believe we can.
There may be no harvest this year in the brittle fields surrounding Friendship Church, but there is a richness here beyond measure.
So here's these dirt farmers who don't have anything, and they're not going to have anything, and they're still tithing and giving for mission efforts for the Baptist Church. What's your guys' excuse? You guys are rich. You have jobs. Like, what's your deal? Basically, that's what we just saw. Fascinating film in that regard. It is. And the deal is, like, there would be, during a revival period, or, as I said, like Lent, or there would be like a stewardship, almost like a fundraiser. It's like when your local PBS station has a month-long fundraiser. It's the same type of thing for a church. And they are trying to, raise money to support their budget. This would be a film that your church could rent and show as part of this month-long or week-long fundraising to make people feel guilty, basically. This is a perfect time for me to make you feel guilty and say that if you like what you're watching, you can certainly donate to our cause. We are in the midst of receiving a bunch of films that other places just can't hold, and we're trying to shelter them and protect them and show them. And so that first film that we showed, Happy Money, was part of a collection that basically got kicked out of their space. And so they're trying to find a space where they are locally, but they're also culling down, and they wanted to know if I wanted a bunch of films. So they're going to send me maybe 700 films, of which I've probably gotten 100 or two so far. But yeah, so if you want to support us with the Super Thanks button, you can do that. You can float some cash our way. You can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks. We use that to buy coffee, or we use that to buy things like paying for storage unit rentals. I just got another storage unit, so I have 4. That's beyond even what the archive. So we have so much stuff. Also paying for shelving. You can also donate at patreon.com/avgeeks, which is kind of like a tip jar that periodically, every month, you contribute to. And over a period of time, that has really helped us out. That's helped us buy new equipment. That's helped us buy a variety of different things. Yes, you dirt farmers, please consider donating to us. But I hope that it's not, I'm not guilting you into it. I hope that you feel that this is worthwhile and gives you an opportunity, gives you a break in your day, because I enjoy doing this, and obviously I would do this even if I was dirt poor. I just try to figure out a way to pay for everything. But you guys, when you donate, you help. But also when you comment, you help. And also when you share with other people, you help. And when you hit the thumbs up button and the like button, those are other ways you can help. You can also go to the AV Geeks YouTube channel and see other films that we have online that we have advertising on, and we get a little bit of money from that as well. So those are all great ways to support us. So thanks again for tuning in. Yes, this was pre-recorded, and we'll probably have another pre-recorded show tomorrow. But depending on where we are in our travels, we might try to show snippets of us traveling, and you get a sense of where we're going. And also, if I see other people that I think you might be interested in meeting, especially people who are on this in the comments and who watch, I will try to get them online. So, thanks everybody. We will see you, quote unquote, see you tomorrow. Bye.